Hi guys, welcome back to a new episode of truLOCAL TV. This is our first one of the year. My name's Irma and I'm going to be filling in for Steph K today. I'm joined here today with three very special guests. We're going to be talking all things entrepreneurship, the importance in creating relationships in business, and about the truLOCAL and ShipperBee Equal Opportunity Grant that was recently awarded to 4 very deserving Black entrepreneurs in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. And who better to chat entrepreneurship with than 3 serial entrepreneurs themselves. So today we have Marc Lafleur, who is our CEO and co-founder at truLOCAL, Jim Estill, who's the founder and CEO at ShipperBee, and Paul McLean, who's the COO at ShipperBee. Thanks for joining me today, guys. So I definitely want to start off by chatting about truLOCAL and ShipperBee and just what you guys do and how you came up with the ideas for your businesses. So Marc, if you want to start, how did the idea for truLOCAL come to be?
Yeah, truLOCAL, well, when I graduated university, I ended up spending 4 years as a door-to-door meat salesman. So a little of the inspiration came there. But while I was doing that, what we started realizing was that a lot of people were looking for value-added meat products. And for us, when we talk about value-added meat products, we're talking about things like 100% grass-fed, RWA, so raised without antibiotics, it could be pasture-raised. So there was a lot of demand for that type of product, but there wasn't a lot of options to get it. So, I had some experience with previous startups in the tech space and digital branding and digital strategy. So we realized if we could just take best practices from these other industries and bring it to the meat space, then there's probably a really good chance that we'll be able to fill that need for people. So truLOCAL, for the past 4 years, we've just really focused on making it as easy as possible for people to shop with local producers, local businesses, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
What makes you guys different than other similar services?
Yeah, right now e-com's booming hard. With what's going on in the world, I'm sure everyone's seen the Bank of America statistic where, we've reached 27% e-com adoption. So there's a lot of different businesses that are looking to get into the e-com space and doing deliveries. I think one of the biggest things that separates us from everybody else doing something similar is that we're really focused on developing Canada's regional supply chains. So one of the biggest things you'll know in the headlines are talking about meat shortages and things like that, and it really kind of showed that the national supply chain model isn't really foolproof, and it works well when it's working smoothly, but if you throw a wrench into it, it's game over. So for us, we want to connect these local producers, local suppliers with consumers as easily as possible and as direct as possible. So I think it's the biggest thing. We're just really focused on Canada's regional supply chains.
Love that, and that's exactly where ShipperBee comes in then.
Absolutely.
So Jim, how did the idea for ShipperBee come to be?
Well, in business, you need competitive advantage, and one of the things I look for is an underutilized resource. So I was actually driving on the 401 in stop-and-go traffic behind a FedEx truck, and I said, this is crazy. Look at all these cars that don't have parcels in them, and look at this truck taking up space on the road. What if we put parcels in those cars? How could we reduce the environmental footprint, and how could we use an underutilized resource? So that's how that came up. Plus, I'm attracted to businesses that are growing, and everyone knows everything is going online. Everyone's buying everything online, and it's a massive growth business, and there's not enough capacity. They can't handle all the parcels. So it needs our capacity. It's not like you're trying to take business from somebody who's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit more about how ShipperBee works?
Sure. So there's really 2 types of drivers. One we call an endpoint driver. So that picks up the business, the product at truLOCAL, for instance, and drops it off to a transfer point, which we call a hive, because the name of the company is ShipperBee. Then a driver who is driving anyways picks up at the gas station, on the exit they're going on the 401, drops it off at the exit they're going off the 401 to another hive. Then someone picks up at that hive and delivers it to the end customer. So it's basically gig economy. We've eliminated hub and spoke. So it used to be the way you'd ship a product from Guelph, we're in Guelph, to Kitchener, is we would give it to a courier who would take it to Mississauga and sort it and send it back. So the parcel's going 2 directions, and we become a little more real time as well. So you're doing a very distributed sort, and you can only do that because computers are now capable of doing everything in a very distributed way.
I love that. So if you're going to work in the morning and you're commuting from Guelph to Kitchener, why not just stop, pick up a package, deliver it on your way to work?
Exactly. Years ago, I wrote a book on time management. One of the chapters I talked about the power of while. What can you do while you're doing something else? And so while you're driving, you may as well be taking a parcel and making a few dollars. And we did a market survey, and 84% of the people who commuted for more than half an hour each way to work would carry parcels if you paid for their gas. So So it's very win-win. It's win for the commuter or the person who's already driving, and it's win for the parcel carrier, and it saves 73.1% of the greenhouse gas per parcel shipped. So for a company like truLOCAL that's trying to be good for the world and good for the environment, it plays with exactly who truLOCAL is as well.
It's a great partnership. Honestly, it's awesome.
Totally. Paul, how is ShipperBee different than your traditional couriers?
Well, I mean, if you think about traditional couriers, they are based on a hub and spoke model. So the hub and spoke model has a high cost. You have buildings, you have fleets of trucks and vans, and you have fleets of drivers that are all working full-time for the organization, and that has a huge cost to it. Because we are distributing our hives across a network and we're using drivers who are ostensibly driving in that direction anyway, or crowdsourced drivers that are just going to do the first pickup and the last drop-off, our cost of moving a parcel from A to B is substantially less, and we can pass those savings off to our customer. And as you know, as along with that is basically that we can save 73% of the greenhouse gas emissions because we're using the unused space in cars already driving down the road. So we really feel it's just a better, greener way to ship.
100%. It sounds like a no-brainer.
I think so.
Can you tell me a little bit about the relationship between you and truLOCAL and just why you think that it works?
Well, I think it works because we really are cut from the same cloth. I think when truLOCAL and we sat down and had our very first meeting, we were transparent, we were honest, we were focused on growing our businesses, we aligned in terms of what we wanted to accomplish, we aligned in terms of how we felt about the environment and how we felt about how our businesses could contribute to doing things better. And when we looked at all that, we were able to very quickly put a plan in place that says this is how we can work together, right? And when you have that level of transparency and trust, and I think we hit it off right away, we've basically been continuing to move down that path ever since. And truLOCAL's customers are benefiting from it because we are delivering parcels for less than truLOCAL was previously paying, and I believe with a better customer experience as well.
So Mark, I know that at truLOCAL, we obviously work with a ton of different vendors and suppliers. What do you look for when you're looking for a partner?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for us is just, like I said, being cut from the same cloth. Like, I think finding someone that can treat our customers the same way that we treat them online is really important, and there's not a lot of couriers that are able to do that. And I think something with ShipperBee that they've done since day one, I'll never forget when we had that first meeting. Like, you can really sense that you guys cared about your clients. I don't know how many times I feel like I've seen some of your office staff delivering some of our packages because you guys didn't have a driver on the road or whatever might happen. So going that extra step for us is something that really matters a lot to our customers. And then taking it a step further, I don't know the exact stat, but the fact that you guys are saving a bunch of 73%?
73.1.
73.1. Hey, everything matters. It all matters. Greenhouse emissions, that's a huge thing for us. And as we start really trying to nail in the regional supply chain aspect and developing that, because there's a total viable way to do that, you guys are the ones that have the most eco-friendly option. And I think it's such a great fit between the two businesses.
Totally. And for such a customer-facing brand like truLOCAL, what role does last mile delivery play in the overall customer experience?
Last mile delivery is everything. It literally is everything because you can create an experience for a customer online and you own that experience. It's however good or however bad you make it, however much you invest in it, however much you understand your customer, you can go above and beyond. When you deal with customer service, you can go above and beyond. You own that experience. You can make that extra phone call. You can send that extra email. You can give that credit. The way your brand looks, all of your policies, everything, you own that. But as soon as you hand that package off to the final delivery or the final courier, all of it's out the window, and you have to trust that that courier is going to take that same level of care and deliver it to the customer, because none of it matters if that box shows up and it's completely damaged or if it's upside down. Right?
100%.
So I think last mile delivery, as e-com continues to grow, is going to be a bigger and bigger part, because now you know how it is. It's not a situation anymore where you'd never be in a situation where it was the courier's fault. Blame the courier. You can never do that. That's bad all across the board. You shouldn't be throwing couriers under the bus. It doesn't give the customer any sort of acceptance of the issue, and it just makes you guys look like you're copping out. So I think last mile delivery is going to be probably the biggest factor in successful e-com businesses.
I think it goes vice versa. Like, the courier companies can't be basically blaming their clients for doing something incorrect that's prevented the package from actually being delivered. And I think the one thing that sort of extends our working relationship is I've always been impressed by how our team and our customer service group works very well with yours. So if we have an issue and we can't get a parcel to a door, it's a collaborative conversation. Okay, what can we do to solve this problem together?
Yeah.
Right, and it's not, well, over to you, you got to solve it, or vice versa. So I think we've really been able to extend that partnership through that.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things too. Like, we'll talk to a lot of different founders. Like, it's similar to marketing agencies. When you work with marketing agencies, I feel like a lot of people just want to bring on the agency, then set it and forget it. And it's done. You never talk to them, you never follow up with them. It's like, okay, go to work and I don't want to hear from you for another month. Well, that doesn't work. You can't grow a business that way because obviously they're not going to be held accountable. They're not going to know what to do. They're not going to get the proper feedback, and you're not solving the problem together. Now I think as last mile delivery becomes more and more important, it's the same thing. Like, if we were just to work with you guys and be like, okay, here's a package, see you later, I don't think it would be as good as it is now. So we really do approach it in that sort of collaborative way. And I think more people need to be looking at it like that if they want to have successful last mile delivery.
Totally. I'll never forget that the one time that we had one of our customers actually post on one of our ads saying, "Your driver's awesome. I just met somebody in my neighborhood who's driving for ShipperBee." And then maybe an hour later, that same driver posted on a different ad saying, "I met a lady in my neighborhood delivering today," and they literally had a selfie in front of her house together, social distance. But he was holding the box and she was at her front door, and it was so sweet to see, to see that entire experience from them building their box online to having it delivered to their door. And it was a positive experience all around because of the relationship that truLOCAL and ShipperBee have. Paul, how has online shopping, with companies like truLOCAL, changed the parcel delivery industry?
Well, I think the one thing that's really changed a lot, and it was starting to change years ago, but it's changing more now, is the fact that a lot more parcels are being delivered to residential addresses. I mean, back in the day when shipment started, it was all about B2B, so delivering skids and boxes and large hand carts full of things into different offices. And now with the advent of e-commerce, and more so even now post-COVID, I guess to some degree, it's really much more push towards residential delivery. And I think the one thing that we know that we can capture as part of that market is because we're pushing our hives out into the community, our hives are really located much more closely to the end point that we're trying to service. So our last mile deliveries are much shorter, and we can be a lot more predictable, and we can accommodate that volume where some of the larger courier companies, they struggle. They're sending trucks out with 300 parcels, and then they're having to drive for 45 minutes to get to a neighborhood and then try to drop them all off as fast as they can go. So our model really lends itself very, very well to that residential delivery model, which has really been the shift over the last 2 or 3 years, and mostly in the last 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, totally. I feel like back in the day, it was normal to place an order for something online and expect it to come 3 to 6 weeks later, and that was your normal timeline. But now, if you place an order online and it's not at your door within the next 3 to 4 days, you're absolutely losing it. So consumers have a different expectation for online shopping and how quickly it should be getting to them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think that to some degree, it's a false prophecy. You don't need everything within 4 hours.
Yeah.
And that's also an environmental impact. If you want a 4-hour delivery, there's a huge environmental cost
for
to that.
sure.
And I don't know about everybody else, but I know that I don't need my socks in 4 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. But there's certain things you want to get quickly, and there's certain things you might not need to get quickly. I think you need to be smart about the choices you make and protect the environment along the way.
Jeff Bezos wants his socks in 2 hours.
Jeff Bezos wants his socks in 2 hours.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm definitely really excited to chat about the Equal Opportunity Grant. But first, I want to know what's next. So, Mark, what's next for truLOCAL? Where do you see truLOCAL in the future?
Yeah, things move pretty quick here, obviously. I think for us, really the biggest focus is going to be on, I keep bringing it up, but it's so important to us, regional supply chains. And I think that we've always been moving in this direction, but with what's been going on recently with COVID, it's really been bringing it more to light. So for us, it's not only about being able to make sure that the most amount of people have access to the most amount of products from local suppliers. We also want to give those local suppliers and producers abilities to sell within their regions as well. So going down that road, that's kind of how we see the future being. We want to make sure that instead of having to go to a centralized hub, which would be a grocery store, which is getting food in from all over the place, kind of looking at the national supply chain side of things, we want to be able to make people go online. They go online and they can see all sorts of little farms in their area, farms, butcher shops, and they'll be able to shop directly with those farms and butcher shops. So that's kind of something that we're really looking to double down on in the future.
Cool. Jim, what about you? What's next for ShipperBee? You guys recently launched, and I know there's a ton of buzz around you guys. So where do you see ShipperBee in the next few years?
Well, we believe it's very audacious. We believe we can do to the courier industry what Uber did to taxis or Airbnb did to hotels. So it just seems, it's so logical to take trucks off the road. It's so logical to use an underutilized resource. And I believe that we can make a meaningful impact on the environment by doing things the way we're doing it. And it's very difficult for the incumbent who is used to doing things the old way. So when you have an industrial farm that's producing 10,000 head of cattle, they're not the ones that you're going to produce for you, because they're used to doing it that way. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the others that provide your product.
Kind of like the Uber and Airbnbs of the world, you know? When they first came up, everybody just thought, you know, this is never going to work. We're too set in our ways. You know, hotels are the only thing, are the only option, and taxis are the only option. And then next thing you know, the entire world's changed.
Shipping is so ripe for disruption because of the adoption of e-com, right? So like, once again, looking at people's being able to even set up their own shops, looking at people being able to use the internet, looking at people looking to sell online, as more and more people go that way, and there's no turning back from that. You know, retail and omni-channel are always going to be a thing. However, the lion's share of that is going to start to transition more and more over to e-com, and with the rise of e-com comes massive opportunities for shipping and shipping innovation and optimizing that process that hasn't changed in a long time. So
totally
pretty good.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I'm super excited to see what the future has in store for both truLOCAL and ShipperBee. I know that at truLOCAL, we absolutely love working with you guys. There's definitely an alignment there. So yeah, I feel like the future is bright.